about Kenichi Omae. Okay, before I start the presentation, did you guys know that Japan was one of the fastest growing economy in the world? Yes, you guys? Okay, but before become one of the strongest economies in the world, Japan also faced a major economic crisis. So, before I introduce who is Kenichi Omae, let me share a little bit about Japan economic history. So this is our premise. After the World War II, Japan experienced the Japanese miracle where their economies grew 3 times faster than nearby countries, which they get support from the US, and become one of the strongest economy in the world. However, the success did not last forever. In 1973, rising oil prices and unstable markets slowed down Japan's economy. Around 1990, Japan faced another major economic slowdown. Because of these challenges, Japan needs new ideas and better business strategies. This is where Kenichi Omae become important. So, did you guys know who is Kenichi Omae? Thank you guys. Okay, Kenichi Omae is one of the world-leading Japanese management experts, and he is well known for his expertise in business strategy formulation and organization implementation. He also developed the 3C model that focus on customer, competitors, and the corporation. And for his education background, he studied at Waseda University, Tokyo Institute of Technology, and having a PhD in Nuclear Engineering at Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Next. In terms of his career, Kenichi was a partner at McKinsey & Company. He also a famous writer of strategy and management book. He also a founder of Our Ability Incorporation, which is a leadership education provider and former professor at UCLA School of Public Affairs. Next, I would like to talk about his significant life event. He advised major companies and government worldwide. He also helped the Asian government to develop future strategies, and he also founded the reform of Heisei movement in Japan, which focused on economic reform to strengthen the Japanese economy. So let's move to his key achievement. One of his biggest achievements was creating the 3C model, which helped the corporation to focus on the customer, competitors, and the corporation itself when planning the business strategies. Next is he introduced the concept of borderless world in global economy, where business is no longer limited by the borders because of globalization and technology. And lastly, because of his ideas and strategy, Kenichi Omae became one of the major influence in modern global business strategy thinkings. Now, I would like to pass the presentation to Azam, who will explain the 3C model in more detail.
Thank you, Ali. So before we begin, I just want to explain a little bit. So just like Ali mentioned before, Japan was not doing very well in 1970. The Japanese miracle just finished, and now we're facing rising oil prices and instability and such. In this scenario, around 1982 or so, this is where Mr. Kenichi comes into the story. Making big leaps and bounds for growth back in the day, is no longer realistic. Now you are looking for a sustainable competitive advantage. Thus, the 3C model. We're not trying to immediately make huge growths. We're trying to get an advantage and continue it slowly, weathering the storm, if you will. So let's talk about the 3C model itself. It's meant for, like I said, developing a sustainable competitive advantage, focusing on 3 criteria: customer, corporate, and competitors. I'll explain customers first. So when you're thinking of customers, Mr. Kenichi argues that you need to prioritize the needs and the wants of the customer first, not the shareholders, because prioritizing the customers will in the end benefit the shareholders. As such, you can do this in two ways. We can segment by segmenting in two ways. We segment by coverage. This means by by demographics, geography, and we can also segment by objective. How is the customer going to use your product? So I'll give you an example. Let's say you're a Japanese car company. Are you just selling in Japan, or are you selling globally? What kind of age range are you looking at? And then you look for, and then when we go to segment by objective, what is the customer going to use your car for? Is it going to be a thoroughbred racing car, or is it just going to go to the shops, go to work, go home every day? The next component is company. We need to be looking for the strengths within the company, the core competencies, the things that makes us different. And focus on that first. Everything else will come later. So for example, Toyota, their main strength is in their production and their efficiency. So they focused on that first. They made the lean manufacturing thing, and everything else came later. And they got wild success from that. And then you need to look at the competitors, the blind spots, the weaknesses in your enemies, your rivals' business models. Now, how do we find it? Well, there is a saying in Japan called kite kono mono. Kite. It means people, wealth, and things. Just like the 3C model, you need to have all three things in balance. If you have an abundance of money, but not the people to exploit it, it is meaningless. It'll be useless. And so those are the things you're looking for. And then you must differentiate your product in a way that's difficult for your rivals to replicate and so on. Now, when we are doing a competitive analysis with the 3C model, there's two things. First is the part between the customer and the company, our company. This is the competitive advantage. These are the features that we have in our products that the customers are willing to pay more for that differentiation. Meanwhile, on the other side, this is the competitor's advantage. The features that your opponents have, your rivals have, but you do not, and customers are willing to pay for that differentiation. Another thing is that a company needs to be able to accept that your rivals will have at least some level of success. Apple can't get mad at Samsung because there will just be people who prioritize the differentiation. Higher battery, faster charging, better screen, and such. But that's it from me for now. Let's look at how this has contributed to the world of management thinking. With that, I hand it to Dina.
Thank you, Adam. So, before I start, I want to ask you guys, do you guys still okay? You guys feel sleepy? Okay, I'm so feeling energetic today. So, next, I would like to explain the contributions of management theory. And I will use simple words, easier for you guys to understand. I hope you guys understand what I'm talking right now. So, the first point that can be seen is increase the growth of global value chain, GVC. The 3C model by Mr. Omai contributes to modern business management by helping companies to involve more in GVC. So, one of idea by Mr. Omai is borderless world. As stated by Azmi before, the presenter before, which is borderless world means that national borders are less important in business. So market, supply chains, and consumer behavior are connected across many countries. So it allows corporations to distribute their activities such as production and logistics in a global, and it also enables them to achieve economies of scale. So there were many countries were involved in GVC such as America, Japan, Canada, or even many Asian countries. So as you can see from the data, this is the positive impact of GVC integrations that supported borderless world idea. GVC encouraged a better business productivity and help SME business to enter a global market. The data taken is from 1995 to 2015 in manufacturing and also services sector as by OECD publishing. Okay, so in manufacturing sector, it grew from 20% to 48%. By integrating GBC with a 3C model that focused on the company dimension, it helped decision makers to analyze the core competencies and resources to determine which process can be outsourced. For example, by sourcing raw materials and components from another countries that has a lower production cost, it helped business to reduce their expenses while maintaining the profit. Okay. To be specific, for example, like a car company makes the engine part in another country that has a lower labor cost, but they choose to assemble their car, their finalized product in their own home country. Okay, so adding more, it also helps decision makers to measure how company can serve better on international scale. For example, by analyzing global demand patterns and also regional preferences, it helps companies to understand better about company or consumer habits that are different due to culture, climate, and local trend. Okay, in services sector, it grew from 6% to 12%. By integrating GBC with a 3C model, it helps companies much better in their coordinations. Companies can identify their operational bottlenecks and ideas for improvement. As a result, services such as customer support can be delivered more efficiently to all of the clients worldwide. Okay, the next contribution, next slide. Next contribution is enhanced customer satisfaction through welfare improvement. Okay. Welfare improvement do connected with the customer dimension of the 3C model because it refers to the action taken by the business to prioritize and improve the customer well-being, satisfaction, and also their experience. In short, business use welfare initiative to understand the customer needs and building a strong relationship. So, customers surely feel valued and also supported. So, through initiatives such as customer program, personalized services, or also health support, it helps companies to view customer as not only as a one-time transactions, but view them as a long-term partners. So, firstly, by combining welfare initiative with service and direct communications, it helps companies to collect valuable feedback from customers about how effective their services. And also business can identify problems and areas for improvement and finding the pain point problems like poor customer service or also the customer dissatisfactions. For example, if a company introduces a personalized customer service, by doing service to the customers, they can measure whether customer feels satisfied with the service or not. Okay, so next, initiative like social responsibility (CSR) that involve in distributing free food to the provide support and free food to the B40 community will help business to gain a better understanding of lower income customers. So these programs provide insight into the real social challenges and also improving the company brand image. As a result, business can make more informed decisions and better align their company capabilities with the customer needs. So next slide. So this is the good examples from the AirAsia. So AirAsia provide welfare initiative discount just for students in Malaysia. So every student in Malaysia were eligible for this. They will receive 400 e-voucher for their domestic flight. So this program is supported by Ministry of Transport Malaysia. So AirAsia also improved their customer experience by offering services like free selections, priority boarding, and these efforts giving a genuine satisfaction. By that, customer will repeat to use the services by AirAsia. Next slide. Okay, the third contribution is sparks innovation and build discipline in a competitive market. Benchmarking, by doing benchmarking, it supports the competitor dimension of the 3C model because it helps business to study and compare performance of company with another industry leaders with the real data without assumptions. So this help companies to identify gaps, improve strategy, and create innovation instead of simply copying another competitors. So business can study not only the customer demographic but also regarding customer problems and desire. So by compare this information, it helps business to create a better innovations product better than their rival. So based on this diagram, the 3C model look at the three important areas, which is cooperation, competitors, and customers. Okay. So first is the cooperation. This is when business will focus on the internal assessment. By doing benchmark, it helps the decision maker to understand the company on strength and capabilities and identify metrics like how much company invest in the research and development, how fast can a company launch a product, and to access the level technology in the company. Second is competitors. It helps business to analyze another companies in the market. By studying the competitors' pricing, branding, or product roadmaps, business can identify opportunities in the market and improve their competitive strategies. Okay, so last is about customer dimension, which focus on understanding the customer behavior, including their hidden or unspoken needs. This helps companies to design products and services that match customer desire and expectations. So by combining the three areas, companies can identify the innovation gap. So for example, next slide. By doing a benchmarking, so Samsung has clearly studies the ecosystem of iPhone. So Samsung, instead of copy what Apple's do, Samsung has see the innovation gap and innovating new different product rather than Apple. So for example, iPhone were to focus on the stability and also on their cameras rather than big hardware changes, right? But Samsung saw this gap and lead to a development of foldable phone technology, which is larger screen and multitask screen features. Okay. So now let's brainstorm some ideas. What do you guys think? Another relevant example in industry that doing benchmark and innovating new product instead of copying others. What do you guys think? Anyone to try? Want to try? Yes, William?
Yes, for my opinion,
Okay.
I think another example is like the automotive industry. Like Tesla, they do the benchmark. The Tesla do the benchmark on the traditional car like BMW and Mercedes,
Okay.
but that does not just focus on the pricing and also the convenience. They also focus on the customer expectation for performance and technology. So instead of copying another product, the Tesla also innovate a car with new battery technology.
Oh, okay. Based on William said, by doing benchmarking, so Tesla was able to create a unique products better than their rival. For example, like new battery technology, right? So Tesla has doing benchmark with another traditional cars like BMW and Mercedes. Instead of copying them, they innovate a new products like a new battery technology. So this is from me. So I will pass to the next presenter.
Well, that's enough of the contributions. Let's get to the criticism. Yeah. So the first contribution is that the 3C model struggles to handle regulatory compliance. According to the 3C model and the borderless world theory, companies need to expand and compete globally using their advantages like technology and efficiency. But in reality, the countries have laws and rules that prohibit this. For example, in Europe, they have the PDC or data protection law, and America has the product specification laws. That makes it very difficult for global corporations to penetrate new markets. As a result, it has a higher cost. You need to have delays to redesign and such. Yeah. Next is that the 3C model is a static framework. There's no feedback loop. It is a snapshot in one point of time of the customer, the corporation, and the competitors. it requires regular updates, and there's no mechanism for continuous adaptation. For this reason, you find that it might not be very good for markets that are fast changing with economics, technology, and social changes happening. For example, let's say a coffee shop does the 3C model in January, but three months down the line, 6 months down the line, 9 months down the line, it might not be as relevant as it was when they first did it in January. And if they continue doing with the same strategy, it might not be very efficient. Lastly, is that it ignores the larger industry factors. It is only focusing on three things: customer, corporation, and competitors. As a result, it's lacking in the other factors that can be seen in something like the PESTEL model, wider macro factors. For example, like government policies, import-export laws, tariffs, and such can complicate how corporations enter and exit countries, markets, and such. Yes. Anyways, that's enough negativity. Let's talk about if the 3C model is still relevant in today's management thinking.
Thank you, Azam. So for the next part for our discussion, I'll explain on the relevance of the 3C triangle model and how this model is actually applied in today's business environment. So before we start, let me ask a simple question. Why do some businesses or companies struggle to survive in today's market? Because nowadays, companies faces a lot of changes. For example, the technology keeps evolving, customers' expectations are changing, and even the competition is becoming more intense. So because of this, they must continuously adapt to stay relevant. So firstly, businesses or companies are heavily influenced by the digital transformation and customer evaluation. They are increasingly driven by the big data and digital technologies. Customers are more informed and expect personalized, fast, and convenient services. Their behavior also can be tracked and analyzed in real time. So because of this, companies are pressured to continuously innovate. Because if they fail to innovate, their business will slowly become irrelevant and then will eventually disappear from the market. So in simple terms, they must adapt all the time. Secondly, we can see the global and cross-industry competition is becoming more intense and complex. Because in the past, companies mainly competed within the same industry, but now competition are everywhere, even from the digital platforms. For example, restaurants are not only competing with the other restaurants, but also with with the food delivery apps like the Foodpanda and also GrabFood. So, they must continuously differentiate and respond quickly to the market changes in order to stay competitive, which means they must balance these three elements together, which explained by Azam just now, like what the customer needs, knowing that what the company itself is capable of, and also competitive positioning at the same time. Next. So a very clear example for this is Grab. So let's see how this model is applied in the company. But before that, let me explain a bit in terms of the trend. So Grab operates in the digitalization and platform-based businesses. This means that Grab uses digital platforms instead of the traditional business method. There is also a growth of super apps and integrated digital ecosystem where one platform combines many services. For example, Grab have the ride-hailing, transport, food delivery, and also GrabPay all in one platforms. And at the same time, there is a shift towards the multi-service platforms, meaning that companies are no longer focusing on only one service. This happens because customers today want service that are fast, easy, and also convenient. So how do they actually apply the 3C model in their business? In terms of the customer-based strategy, Grab have strong focus on adapting to diverse consumer behavior across the market. This means that Grab understands that different countries have different customers' needs and preference. For example, some people still prefer using cash payment, while some of others are more comfortable using the digital wallets and also cashless options. So by providing a flexible payment system, Grab can serve more users. They also focuses on convenience, speed, and accessibility because customers want services that are quick and easy, right? Besides, Grab also combines many services in one app so that users don't need to switch between multiple apps. For the cooperation-based strategy, Grab expands through the strategic partnership and acquisition, especially in the fintech and delivery expansion. So Grab can offer more services and not just only one. It also uses data-driven decision-making for efficiency and pricing. And this helps them to make faster and more accurate decisions based on the market situation. And then, another important point is the network effect, which means that the more people use the app, the more efficient the whole ecosystem becomes. For example, when more users use the Grab apps, the more drivers and then the more merchants will join the platforms. So customers can get faster service while the drivers will receive more orders. And then lastly, from the competitor-based strategy, Grab competes with the platforms such as Goto. So this competition is very strong because both of them offer similar service in the same market. The competition also based on the pricing strategies, incentive and service promotion to attract both drivers and users. It also focuses on reliability, coverage, and user experience quality. Lastly, Grab also differentiate through localization strategy, safety features. For example, they have the SOS emergency button and also the share my features. And lastly, the fintech expansion. So from this example, we can see that the success in business is not just only on one factor. It depends on how well the company balances the customer's need, knowing what the company is capable of, and also competition at the same time. So that's all from my part. I'll pass to the next presenter, Saidatul, for the conclusion.
Okay, thank you, Edina. So, to conclude, the 3C model by Kenichi Ome is still relevant and practical today. Why? Because it helps company to analyze history element together and not separately. So instead of making decision blindly, they can develop strategy more balanced and strategy. However, it cannot be taken alone. It must be supported by the other theory and framework. For example, the PESA framework can help companies analyze external factors that may affect the business decision making. So that's all from our group. Thank you for listening. Do you have any questions?